Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Morgan. I will be leading us here, steering the ship on our Friday afternoon webinar here. Thank you for taking the time out of your afternoon here to join our Mongoose team here for our advancement specific webinar here, parent engagement and text, polishing the alumni transition to donor. Let's talk about pipeline advancement. How do we get those folks and those prospects to go from just, hey, I'm an alumni, I automatically support, to identifying their why and identifying their philanthropic needs to converting them into an individual making a gift. So thank you so much for joining us here today. And a little bit of an agenda here for today, a few housekeeping items out of the start. Again, my name is Morgan. For those that joined late, we did this presentation a couple of weeks ago at a conference and it went really, really well. The advancement is a big initiative of ours here at Mongoose, looking at a year going forward. So we wanted to provide this opportunity to have a discussion with all of you, to throw ideas around about what's working for some of us in the field, some ways in which Mongoose and our Cadence platform can help you all advance prospects through this pipeline and really personalize that relationship with your donors. So we want this to be a really interactive session. I invite you to have your cameras on, to ask questions. If you have something that comes up in the moment, fire away. Don't feel the need to have to ask it in the chat. If you have a question, speak up, please. We are here to engage with each other, learn from each other, have a conversation more than just a presentation. You're going to be asked a couple of things today. So we are interactive in this session here. We're going to have a couple of polls that are going to come up every now and again. So you'll have the opportunity to answer a question on your screen. And then in addition to that, I'm going to ask you to use the fire emoji in the reaction section of your Zoom screen down below. So not only do you can answer the poll, but if the answer is yes, which I'll show you later on, throw that fire emoji up there. And so I'm going to introduce our teammates that we've got on this call coming up. But again, make it interactive. Please discuss, ask questions. There is no bad timing. There is no bad question. We're here to learn from you all and to learn from each other as we go through this. Like I said, there'll be polls, participation. If you feel so inclined, if you do answer yes to the poll, go ahead and throw that fire reaction up there. Full disclosure, I might call on you if you say yes. So I will just disclose that here for y'all. Again, wanting to share ideas and learn a lot about it as we go through it. So we've got a few folks on the call with me today that are going to be helping out, and I'll turn those over to them here for introductions really quick. But behind the scenes, we've got a couple other Mongoose folks with us. Laura is running our chat and running the behind the scenes work here today. She's on our marketing team. So thank you to Laura, and Jeff from our product team is here as well, in case any of you have specific questions on that as well. So without further ado, I will turn it over to our first presenter, Sharon, to talk about herself.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. My name is Sharon Harinka and I'm the Assistant Director of Annual Giving at UNC Charlotte. This is my 15th year at Charlotte. I am also an alumna, class of 2011, and I've worked in annual giving since 2008. I was first a member of our Student Philanthropy Center team. I was a student caller, and then I graduated and realized that my whole heart was in philanthropy, so I decided to stay, and I've been here about 15 years. My primary duty at Charlotte now is student philanthropy. So not only do I help run our Student Philanthropy Center, but I also manage the student portion of our Day of Giving, Niner Nation Gives, as well as Class Gift, as well as different stewardship initiatives for students, stewarding donors, etc. So happy to be here and share all the awesome ways that Mongoose has helped us really elevate our campaigns.
Thanks, Sharon. I am Lauren Yeager. I have been with Mongoose just over 6 years, and I actually have over a decade of fundraising experience in both nonprofit and higher education, most recently major gifts, but I also have worked mid-level giving programs and was director of annual fund at Damon University, my own alma mater in Buffalo, New York, for many years. Sometimes they attend these. So hello, Damon, if you're here. I have helped dozens of advancement clients, including University of North Carolina at Charlotte, initially adopt Cadence as a solution to their pain. So I'm really happy to have you here today. I know in my role, this tool would have been incredibly helpful to what I was doing, and we'll talk more about that later. And yeah, so I'm happy to be here today. And with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Morgan to formally introduce himself.
Thanks, Lauren. So, I'm happy to have a couple of rock stars presenting with me today, mostly so that they can know what the heck they're talking about and I don't sit up here and ramble. So a little bit about myself. I came to Mongoose about 9 months ago, but I was one of you all along with Lauren. I have been an annual giving officer and MGO and principal gift officer for 15 years in my higher ed career prior to working at Mongoose. So started at my alma mater, University of the Pacific, little small private school out in California. Spent a decade then at San Diego State University, and then most recently at University of Minnesota here in Minneapolis, which is where I'm based out of now. So I love talking advancement. I love talking fundraising, and I love talking about ways that we as fundraisers can be different and can be personalized and have that different experience. So y'all are my people, and we're excited to share this presentation with everybody here. A little bit about Cadence. So I think on this call, we've got a good mix of current clients and partners with us, as well as some folks that are interested in Cadence, are new, and maybe have some questions about what we're all about. And so a little bit about Mongoose and what we are. So for reference, Mongoose is our company. Cadence is our platform and our product. So if you hear us say Cadence, we are talking about our engagement platform. And what we are is we are specifically a higher ed communication tool. We want to provide your institution with the resources to be a complete communication tool throughout the entire life cycle of students to current students to alumni into transitioning into donors. So we want to partner with your institution for your entire process and relationship with your constituents. We operate only in the higher ed space. We are for higher ed, by higher ed. 60% of our employees came from campus in some capacity. So, we pride ourselves on bringing the knowledge and that personalization of your user experience from the Cadence side to apply the best practices and the best tactics to your mission and your strategy through the use of our Cadence engagement platform. We're not just about technology, it's about strategy, expertise, and data that helps you be more powerful in your outreach and communication with constituents across the donor lifecycle. We can and have helped hundreds of institutions transform the donor lifecycle experience from prospective givers to the annual fund into major gift prospects. And we want to help your institution bring your story to the forefront of your engagement, messaging, and strategy, and help deliver on those resources that can make that story a reality. We want to customize your experience with Cadence, just as we hope that you're wanting to customize your relationship with your donors to the needs and wants of their philanthropic interests. Lauren's got a little bit more about Mongoose as a whole to share with everybody here.
Yeah, last thing. So one of the things we really like to drive home is that we're not just a technology tool, but we really are a partner. The power of our partnership really comes from approaching your implementation and your success as a team. We work together with to help power 56 million connections annually through our platform. We work with over 950 institutions, over 4,000 campus teams, including 40 higher education foundations and over 125 advancement teams. We have over 20,000 users that log into our platform nearly daily. So just as you customize your donor interests and experiences, we pride ourselves on customizing Cadence to meet the needs of our partners. We could easily do a feature dump, and a demo, but if you take us up on a demo, you'll quickly see that we cater the solution to your campus and your needs. To that point, I'll pass it over to Morgan.
All right. Well, thank you, Lauren, for that. So, we're excited to be able to talk to all of you about pipeline management. So I know when I was an advancement officer and a major gift fundraiser, I worked specifically for athletics. So I came from the athletics fundraising world, and it was always a pain point internally of hearing the response, well, I'm an alumni. I already gave. I don't need to give anymore. And alumni engagement is critical to the mission and the survival of importance. But then how do you get that connection, that engagement with your prospect to get them over the hump, we'll say, into the mindset of giving, into generating the philanthropic mindset within the donor, to then convert that into a philanthropic ROI via gift, the annual fund, or major gift, whatever that may be. And so, a lot of other sessions that you all probably been a part of, or other webinars that you've seen, they talk a lot about, tangible strategies a little bit more data driven, but we want this to be a lot more ideological, talk a little bit more about donor emotion and feelings and make it an engaging conversation between all of us. And so, you know, we want every development officer in this room to be able to enhance your skills that can help you personalize that donor experience. So when you're wanting to connect the gap between a prospective donor that isn't already engaged and your institution, like how do you do that? How can you use your tools around you and technology, such as the Cadence engagement platform, to become the catalyst to a yes for that donor? So looking at the difference, the donor's not giving right now. So what's going to make them do that? Well, you are going to be the difference maker for that individual between bridging that gap of them knowing about your institution versus making a gift to that institution to support the mission and support that ideology that you provide. And so we want you to learn about Cadence and learn about different avenues of technology that you can use to improve your toolkit, much in the same way that our partner clients and partner institutions such as Sharon and UNC Charlotte have over the years to maximize their donor experience. So before we get into that, we've got our first poll of the day here. So if you don't mind looking at this right now, how many of you are currently making a priority to focus on the personalization of that donor experience? Are you guys doing that? Is that in the forefront of your mission there? Again, if you're going to vote yes, if you're willing to share, throw that fire emoji up in your chat window. And just like the classroom, I will probably call on you. You know, we're looking at the results as they come in. So right now we're about 60%, 30, 40% yes versus no. So the room is collectively making an initiative to personalize this donor experience. You know, I think we can all agree that it is important, that it is critical to the needs and the mission of your institution to figure out what is right for that donor and how we can utilize a technology platform like Cadence to do those kind of things. So anybody's willing to share what are some of the things that your shop is doing? We'd love to hear it. You can use that emoji. You can simply unmute yourself and say it if you want. So we're at an overwhelming 72% of people are saying yes right now versus 28% are no. So collectively, you know, it is a critical need. I think that's on all of our strategic plans. Clearly, if you're not a partner with Cadence or with Mongoose yet, that need is there across the room. You can see why. And our partners and current clients here are sharing that this is able to be a priority, which is why they're able to use Cadence.
Yeah, I'll chime in here since everyone's being a little shy. Would love to, you know, if we were in person, I would like feed you, you know, like candy, the first to share. But if anybody's doing anything kind of out of the box that you feel is kind of next level for personalization, we would love to hear those ideas, whether it was using texting or any sort of platform like Cadence or not. Maybe it's a personal touch, a handwritten note. I'm purposely saying things that aren't that innovative so that you can blow my suggestions out of the water. Anyone? Come on. So I will share one of the things that I don't think we talk about, just to inspire someone to participate. Perhaps one of the things that I constantly recommend to our new clients is a first time giver program. Obviously that concept is not anything new, but with text and with Cadence, you could actually send a personalized text message from the annual fund director or the board of trustees, like whoever makes sense for your institution, and just say, hey, insert first name. We noticed that you gave for the first time. May I ask what inspires you to give? And that is done at scale in a way that really drives home like how and why they gave for the first time. And of course, using that information for further outreach in the future. Does anybody do anything like that, whether it's via text or another way? All right, well, maybe we'll
Take her. Oh, we got to take her. Spencer.
I'll jump in.
Coming up strong.
Yeah, we did this year we did a Valentine's Day text to I believe our new donors and then our 3-year or more consecutive donors. That was kind of like play on words, like we love how dedicated you are to WSU. And we also included what inspired you to give. We got more just like Go Cougs responses than we did like actual people texting back and sharing why they did. But first time we've ever done anything like that, and it was a little bit of a anchoring piece for our giving day a little bit later. But people seem to really respond positively to that, and I think it went well.
I love that.
Oh, that's awesome. Ryan's got her hand raised.
So we just started going out. I'm from Auburn University, sorry. So we just started texting, having anniversary appeals. So we'll go out to Libunts whenever they made their gift last year. And if they haven't made their gift this year, we'll go ahead and text them saying, hey, would you guys like to receive a call, or would you like to give through online? But Lauren, I think your suggestion with asking, well, why did you give last year? I think that is a great thing to do, and we might take that.
That's perfect. Well, thanks, Ryan, and thanks, Spencer, for sharing that. Yeah, so I think we can all mutually agree that this introduction, that personalization of starting that relationship off with your prospect or your constituents is critical, and it's imperative to maximizing the engagement tools that you have surrounding us and that we have as development officers. And the segue is perfect because Sharon's going to tell us a little bit about some of the initial personalization efforts that her and her team at UNC Charlotte have been able to utilize with kids.
You guys really teed me up super well. To Morgan's point, this example that we're sharing on the screen is the very first text message that a recent graduate receives from UNC Charlotte. We hear all the time as annual giving professionals, you never call me, you never reach out to me unless you're asking for money. And like Cadence can help you change that. And to Lauren's point too, about asking them a question, asking them what inspired them. In this example, we are asking them a question. Selfishly, we store this information however they respond in our CRM, and we use that for things like our giving day. We don't want to ask you to support the biology department if you identify more with athletes or athletics because you are a student athlete, or your Greek organization because you are heavily involved with Greek life, or Model UN because that's what you really enjoyed most about your college experience. So as you can see in this example, this is an older example. Andrew Baker is no longer our president. You can see this is from 2018. But we merge in fields. So back to Morgan's point about personalization. Hi, first name. It's Andrew Baker, president of UNC Charlotte's Young Alumni Chapter. We always love to start our text messages off from someone who is Googleable, because if I just said, hi, this is Sharon from UNC Charlotte, you're going to get a lot of responses that say Sharon who, and it's just easier to have a Googleable name. And then it says, would you mind answering this one question survey? Which of the following do you identify with most? And we physically merge in their major, which in this instance, this person was biology, their college, which was the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. C for us is always athletics, D is always the library, and E is something else. So this particular individual, Lisa, said E, and then we have a canned response, a template in Cadence that allowed us to quickly respond back and say, thanks for participating. Do you mind explaining what the something else is? And they said grad student bioinformatics. So maybe we have a bioinformatics crowdfunding project coming up in 8 months. I'm going to pull this person in and solicit them for the bioinformatics club or whatever we're soliciting for. They also said the graduate school. Or they said graduate student bioinformatics. So I'm assuming they're also interested in the graduate school in general. They might pull into that. So you can really use this to your benefit in terms of future segmentation and really help all your programs, not just crowdfunding, but helping clubs and teams raise money for their own things as well. Yeah, and then we said, thanks for participating. Have a great day. I would be lying if I said there wasn't a lot of data cleanup that's associated with these polls, full transparency. A lot of people say A, and that's great. A lot of people would say biology, which is A. So we kind of have to clean up our responses and know that anybody who said A was their major, then we'll paste over their major, and then we get this in a contact report so we can go back and solicit them later for that thing. So it is a little bit cumbersome to clean up the data, but it is way worth it because they are telling you what their affinity is and you're not having to guess. Yes, to Lauren's point, tags do make that easier. We're unfortunately on an archaic CRM right now. We are on Banner, but we're quickly making the transition to Salesforce. So this is going to be way more streamlined for us in the future. We're just like in a really weird spot right now. So it's a little more difficult.
Thanks, Sharon. And, it's always great when you see the seamlessness that Sharon and her team are able to utilize for that personalization. So in this text to Lisa, automatically Cadence plugged in the major, the college, and the 2 other leading initiatives on campus. So Lisa automatically feels like this is a personalized message to her, with Cadence doing all the legwork with the tags and the merge fields as well. And there's personalization of messages that Sharon used in this example. And then I think there's the next level of personalization that really kind of helps to break down those walls, I call them, of like this fundraiser sales pitch kind of outreach. But this next one is one of my favorite examples, I think, of all time, of really diving in headfirst to that personalization and connection with your prospects from a fundraising perspective. So I'll let Sharon talk about this one.
Yeah. And before I talk about this, which is my favorite slide ever, I also want to mention to you guys that young alumni poll gets a 27% reply rate for us on average, which is like 4 or 5 times above the national average for like reply rates. Our UCOM team is like stunned every time we give them updates on how our texting stuff is performing. Hands down, way better than email. So they're glad to see us having success with this. But yes, to Morgan's point, the possum. This is my favorite example of being personal ever. This particular donor, or non-donor actually, we sent him a text message saying, hey, there's an alumni challenging happening for our giving day. We need your help. Can you make a donation to the College of Computing and Informatics to help us unlock a challenge gift? He said, if you send me a picture of a possum, I'll donate $149. So he's just trolling us because he thinks we're fake. He thinks they're not real people on the other side of this responding. And so I Google a picture of a possum on Google. You can do it right now. It's one of the first ones that comes up. And I saved it to my computer, attached it to the text message, and sent it. And he replied back with, that's a healthy possum, and a screenshot of his donation. So after this was sent, I was like, a couple of years later, I was like, oh, I wonder what happened to that possum guy. Like, is he still donating to the university? And sure enough, he is a loyal donor. He gives for Niner Nation Gives every single year and has ever since. And this had nothing to do with any professional strategy that we had in place as a university, and everything to do with just communicating and forming a relationship with the prospect, even if it's obviously completely unrelated to the university. Our mascot is not a possum. I don't know where he pulled possum from. I think it was just like the first animal that came to his mind, and we built that trust with him. He believes we are now real people. He knows we are real people on the other end. And every single time this donor gets a text message, he's going to respond very positively. So
Sharon, I really hope that in September, what are we out here now? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 5-year anniversary coming up. I feel like he deserves like some sort of possum card, possum themed something. I'm just going to throw it out.
That is a great idea. He's actually already technically a member of our only giving society, our 1946 society, which is 3-year consecutive donors. So I'm sure he's gotten some tchotchkes in the mail, but certainly not possum branded.
Right.
But I might have to steal your idea and do something silly for him.
There's no stealing, right? I was a member of CASE. It's called copy and steal everything, right?
Big fan.
On that note, just hi, everybody. It's Laura here over here in the chat and just making sure that the polls are going well. We do have a question from John that I will throw out there, and that was about opt-in. So how was opt-in captured for these examples that we're talking through?
Personally, for UNC Charlotte, we don't give you, when you give us your information as an alum specifically, this is not for parents, individual donors, or even current students. You are automatically opted into our emails. You do have the ability to opt out of text message, or excuse me, I said emails a second ago, texting. You're automatically opted into that. It is very easy for you to opt out by saying stop or unsubscribe, and you will automatically be opted out of Cadence and texts from UNC Charlotte as a whole. We manage those opt-outs as they come in, and also put exclusions on their records so that they actually don't pull into any of our future texting data files. Additionally, it's also just a great way for us to help clean up our data. We, for example, with Gold alumni or recent graduates, we get a lot of this is their parent. How'd you get this number? And it's actually like, oh, your student listed this as their cell phone number. So sorry, we'll go ahead and clean up our data. Also, here's a link to have that student go ahead and update their information as well. I will say the legalities of texting do vary based on your institution. And I've done a presentation before, actually with a different less school texting vendor many moons ago about the legalities of texting. So I have some helpful insight to that as well, in terms of like explicit and written consent and when you need to have each. But you could always check with your legal team if you're worried about that. I know also, a lot of institutions include opt-out language in their first text to an alum. You can do that as well if you're worried about that. And Mongoose has some great examples that they'd be happy to share with you of what you can include in that text message.
Well, Sharon, I laugh and smile every time I hear the story too. And I think why we show this, not only for, comedic value and to make a break from me rambling on, but we talk about personalization and why this is the first step really of this process of building that pipeline and that bridge between graduating alumni status to giver is for this exact example. Like, this is the power of personalization, right? So Scott had always been an alum of Charlotte, right? For as long as he had been graduated, he'd been an alum, and he had never given. Scott had wanted to give, right? Like, he had the wherewithal about it. He had the support and the love for the institution. But it was just a matter of somebody had to take that right approach to make that connection with him, to figure out his why, right? He had wanted to give, and he wanted to give somebody a hard time, but he wanted somebody to take the time to personalize that response back to him, right? Like Sharon said, he started off maybe trolling a little bit, but then she called his bluff, and he was like, that's awesome. They're taking the time to meet my needs, no matter how ridiculous it may seem. But that person, which was Sharon in this case, took the time and effort to read his response and see his words, and he wanted to be heard and wanted to be seen. And that level of personalization and customization that Cadence allowed Sharon and her team to do made Scott into a giver, and moved to bridge that gap for him between just being an alumni to being an alumni who made a gift. Which kind of leads us into our next phase of this webinar here today, right? So we talked about the power of personalization and how it's critical to make your donors feel like you are understanding their reason why and making that connection between their reason why and your institution as a whole. But part of that is that in order to be able to get them to read and engage with their messaging, we've got to communicate with our donors and our prospects in a way that they want to be communicated with. Technology communication goes ups and ebbs and flows. And right now, 10 years ago, right, we were talking about email was the way of the future. Email was getting blasted out. We tried to personalize our email tactics, and all of a sudden, these mass emails and marketing emails built up the volume that would made it almost insurmountable, and everybody's inboxes are huge. So we had to find another avenue. Well, we're all here today because we're either using texting or interested in texting as a communication platform that's being recognized and received by our constituents as a way in which they want to be communicated with. Everybody's looking at their phone. There's a rise in marketing text messages right now because it works. Because I know personally, whether it's an ad, a spam, or a real text message, it doesn't matter what it is. I'll always open it. I may not respond to it depending on if it's an ad, but I will always put eyes on it because it doesn't take me any time. It doesn't impact my day or take time away from my current task at hand. And so the ability of communicating with a text message volume, whether that's a slow and staggered strategic response or a mass volume kind of idea to it, is critical. And your donors will let you know, and it's visible in your open rates, your engagement rates, right? With our emails, we can see our click-through rates and the reads, the number of links that have been clicked on. We have the data to back it up. So you want to personalize your answers and identify the needs and wants of that donor, but you need to deliver that information in a way that's going to make them not have to work to read that information that you guys are talking about. And Sharon's got a couple of misconceptions that we maybe kind of live on that you can talk about a little bit right now?
Yeah, thanks, Morgan. Yeah, there are some misconceptions. Everybody thinks, oh, most of our alums are older generations, etc. They're not going to be, welcoming text messages from the university, but that's actually a misconception. Young people are not the only ones on their phone. It's not just Gen Z. Yes, Gen Z, when they get that text message on their device, they're going to respond to you pretty immediately. They're not going to wait to reply to you, but you're not going to get as high of a response rate from them. And when they do text you back, it's usually going to be just one, maybe two messages. But millennials and boomers, they will reply to you. They're just not going to reply to you right away. And when they do reply, some of them aren't going to stop. I have people reply back to me months later asking random questions just because they know there's a real person on the other end of it, and kind of use us as like a catch-all to help them solve their problems. But also, not only do they reply later, but they also just engage more. They love to ask questions and have deeper, more meaningful conversations, all of which you can put into a contact report or wherever you store that sort of the texting replies that you receive back. And their replies can be really helpful into not only, gauging their affinity, but also getting them connected with resources they maybe didn't know that your school offers to alumni. For example, if they say they're out of work, we love to connect them to our career services center that offers like free resume building. Also, we have like a my UNC Charlotte, like a alumni portal that they can apply for jobs where their businesses local to them are trying to recruit 49er alumni. So it's not just for young people. Everyone can text, and you'd be really surprised on how many responses you're going to get from those older generations.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sharon. And we've been talking a lot, so we got another question for everybody. More polls, more interaction. So when you all are looking at your channels of communication, channels that you're using for your outreach and engagement strategy, how have they changed in the last 5 years, and have they changed tremendously for your shops over the last 5 years or so? Are you looking at different tactics? Are you looking at different avenues of communication? Are you examining the data, looking at open rates and click-throughs to adjust your approach, adjust your style? And it's overwhelming. Yes, it's no surprise to everybody here, right? We're at 87% right now for yes, 12% for no. So I think it's I like the phrase, adapt or fall behind, right? So I think we have to adjust to what our donors are telling us. We can make the connection, we can identify their personal need with that, but if we can't deliver that information in a way that they care about, they're never going to see that personalization effort that you've put in to building that relationship with them. And Spencer in the chat and saying, at Wazoo, they did a breakdown of the response rates by grad decade in the 70s and 80s. We're number one, number two. So again, that's not Gen Z, that's Gen X and borderline boomers, I think, maybe young, older millennials that are responding in that way. So like the method of which we adapt and deliver information, I think is key in order to backing up the power of that personalization that we talked about as well.
Morgan, I just want to add, as a former major gift officer, my title was actually Associate Director of Advancement for the College of Education, Health and Human Services. As we like to say, the longer the title, the shorter the check or whatever. Is that it? But anyway, job satisfaction was huge for me. So I was doing that job before texting would have been appropriate. It would have been a little bit too early to the market. I don't think people would have responded to it very well. But I wonder about folks earlier in their career who are used to being very social, who are sitting at their desk like I was in a windowless former filing cabinet room, making calls to somewhat sporadic donors, trying to engage with them and get them to accept a meeting with me. I'm traveling to Boston from Ohio at the time, for instance, and just, grin and smile and dial kind of thing. And I think that there is a major opportunity for job satisfaction and efficiency here. One of the things I'd like to see our clients do more of with Cadence is that kind of digital engagement officer using this, mid-level giving, those associate directors of advancement. I know a lot of you on the call today may be representing more of annual giving, but I do think there's this bridge that needs to be built over to those major gift folks to find efficiency. If I could have just sent a text to the 300 folks in Boston saying, I'm going to be in Boston next Friday. Can I schedule some time to meet with you to thank you for your support and give you an update about the College of Ed? It would have taken me 20 minutes to craft a very good text message and send that out. And it took me all week of just kind of like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to fall asleep. So not to pontificate too much about that, but that's one way that I see opportunity for change here. The other is chat. You might know that Cadence is an engagement platform. We do support chat and chatbots for advancement and alumni relations. And to the consent piece, alumni are stealthy on your website every day and you have no idea that they're there. And so imagine if you could engage them with the chatbot and solicit their phone number, and that would go directly into Cadence so that you'd be able to text those folks with that consent if that's something your campus is really concerned about. So anyway, Morgan, did we get any responses? You want to call on anybody? How are we doing on time?
Well, the responses, it was so 90% of the room said that, that you're making those adjustments needed and necessary to reach our constituents, and this polls a little bit in the same vein, right? But more specifically, who here in this room are you guys texting specifically alumni and donors? And that could be for any facet of the process, right? Not necessarily just in solicitation, but are you doing your discovery work via text? Are you doing your alumni engagement and outreach? Are you using it for special events, for stewardship events, for thank yous? What are you using text as a platform to reach your alumni and your donors currently? And it's coming in overwhelmingly yes right now. Is no shock to the room, right? We're here talking about Cadence because it is an engagement platform specializing in text and chat, and so that vehicle, that method, our donors are telling us by this data and by this usage rate from us, right, that they want to be communicated this way, that they want to hear, and that personalization effort that you all are putting into the conversations, and it's welcomed, and how it can be a vehicle for all kinds of responses to make your approach and make your engagement strategies better. Sharon's we got an example here on this next one that we're talking about that personalization. We're talking about the delivery method in which our donors want to be spoken to, and texting alumni and donors specifically, but the manner in which you text and you execute that messaging is also critical too. And so Sharon's got a little bit to tell us about here on this next slide.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and you don't have to, obviously, don't just use text messaging for solicitations. There's a million non-solicitation texting ideas that you can use. Some of what we've done, not just informational text messages, but pledge reminders for Student Philanthropy Center, event reminders, general stewardship. For example, if a scholarship's been awarded, we might text all the donors to that named scholarship and let them know, hey, Morgan McSweeney, class of 2025, bioinformatics major, was just awarded this scholarship. It wouldn't have been possible without you. Here's a headshot. Maybe do you want a link to hear a personalized message from Morgan directly, etc. Event invites, event reminders, event stewardship. I mean, there's a million things you can use this for. Everything on this, or what you're seeing on the screen, this example on the screen, is an example of a text message that we sent out for our sneaker ball, which is an event that our Black Alumni chapter holds every year to raise money for their Black Alumni chapter scholarship. We really tried to personalize this thing. We included a flyer that was made and promoted within the Black Alumni chapter. I know, Dougie Fresh, right? That's real. That's not a typo. But we basically we used Evertrue to draw a map around a 5-mile radius of where this event was going to be held. And we had some criteria set in place, like we wanted a list of all Black alumni who have permanent addresses that are within a 5-mile radius of the event. So this specifically went out to Black alumni in the area, and it said, hi, so-and-so, this is UNC Charlotte's Black Alumni chapter. We actually had the Black Alumni chapter draft not only the initial text message, but also any responses that we sent out because we wanted to sound real and authentic. I am a 33-year-old white woman. I do not have the same voice as a Black alum or even know, the hip way to respond to even like Gen Z. Like, I don't know what's cool anymore. So I was like, hey, I'm going to give them the reins, let them draft it all. I'll just deploy it and reply. So we invited them to the sneaker ball, attached their flyer, told them that, yes, Dougie Fresh and DJ Cool were going to be there. Do they want more information? This person specifically replied back and said, bet. So that was pretty cool. So we said, say less, we got you. And I would never say less, but they would. So these text messages were really well received. We sent them a link to how they can register and check out all the other awesome Black alumni events that were happening during our week of engagement, which is called Niner Nation Week, and all of our homecoming festivities, encouraging them to invite their friends as well. And hopefully we'll see them there. It helps us listen to our donors and really just understand what they better respond to. The response rate for this particular text was like phenomenal. And we also saw a huge spike in registration, which the Black Alumni chapter really appreciated. And it truly cost them no money to deploy because Mongoose comes out of the annual giving budget. So we just really like to partner with our alumni affairs folks, and even, like our 49er ID card office was like, hey, no one's saving their mobile IDs. Can you guys help us text all of them so we don't have to field thousands of email questions? And we're just always looking to help our campus partners, and Mongoose makes that really, really easy. And again, you're meeting them where they are. They're already on their phone. Yeah, I'll go ahead and register. Send me the link. So saw some really great success with that.
Yeah.
And of course, emojis. That's something I did forget. Don't just customize your language, use emojis, use fun things so that it really makes the experience for your constituents more real.
And I think Sharon spoke to this too. I think it allows all of us an opportunity as former development officers, current development officers. We're meeting our donors where they want to be. We're talking about this personalization, but it doesn't mean that it has to be stock and form answers, right? We can have fun with it. Put the fun in fundraiser, break down the stigma of those walls. It doesn't have to always be a constant sales pitch, a constant, our donors are nervous, they're going to get asked for money. These tools and cadence allows you to start building a rapport, to normalize these conversations around advancement, around your institution, and around support of your missions and your priorities that you all have as development officers that you're charged to raise money with every day. So having that level of customization, that level of personalization with your constituents is huge, and especially delivering that information. It allows for situations like this, where this individual, I would have a strong hunch, probably hadn't responded to a whole lot of text messages from UNC Charlotte until this one came across, it aligned with their why, and then they followed up with that personalized message to reinforce that registration and that RSVP link. And so we're talking about, so we've already talked about, personalizing your message. We talked about meeting your donors where they are. And then kind of the third piece of this whole process here for your day is really talking about what we call scaling for impact. And Sharon's got a lot of insight she's going to share with us kind of about what this means and how to use cadence to really maximize that delivery method for your donors.
Yeah, sure. We all know that donors, need multiple touches over the course of their relationship with your institution. Some are longer, more personalized touches like NGO work, but others are quicker, really high volume reach for a quick gift, aka the annual fund. Cadence can really help you adjust your messaging needs depending on your donor strategy and relationship needs. As annual giving professionals, we have all heard the golden number is 7. That's not just related to annual giving, it's also marketing in general. An individual has to see or interact with your nonprofit's brand at least 7 times before making any action, including making a gift, attending an event, etc. So if you mail your constituents quarterly, send one digital appeal, then invite them to an event, maybe follow up with a phone call in your student philanthropy center. I mean, it's easy to rack up those 7 touch points, and Mongoose can help you do that as well. Even if you're not getting a gift from that one text or even a reply, Mongoose is really part of a larger strategy for us to help build affinity and build relationships with our constituents over time. Like I mentioned earlier, you can really boost other channels with Mongoose, not just rely on it solely for your fundraising. 10 out of 10 do not recommend doing that. But it's a great way to get your school's brand out there, your Giving Day brand, etc., out in front of donors. Help really boost not only your mail efforts, your email efforts, phone efforts. We do a text message before anyone gets a call that says, hey, you're going to see a number pop up from a 704-687 number in the next couple of weeks. That's our Student Philanthropy Center. Hey, maybe is there a good time to call you? We can schedule like a personalized callback for you, so you're getting called when you want to get called. We also recommend partnering or putting Mongoose into your strategy when deploying social ads, geo-targeting, to help boost your magazine stories, maybe your newsletters, billboards, word of mouth. I mean, truly everything. Mongoose can help you boost your brand. Do we have another poll? I think we have another poll, right, Morgan? Yeah, let's hit it.
Sure do. So yeah, looking at your current channels that you all are using in your development shops for your outreach and engagement strategies, how many of you feel that right now in your given situation, whatever that may be, you have the tools needed to execute your multi-channel engagement strategy? So do you feel like your needs are being met currently with your platform they're able to use to conduct this donor outreach and be successful with what you have in front of you? Okay, so it's looking a little over, so about 65-35 right now on yes. So ideally all of our Mongoose partners are answering yes to this question, right? But I think as Sharon mentioned, right, we have the ability to, if you're not going to, you don't have to use Cadence as the primary source. Cadence can be an avenue to other brands of your communication strategy as a whole, right? So it can be a one prong on a multi-prong approach that your shop uses. Like Sandra just says in the chat, right? Having the tools and using them effectively are two very different things, but can Cadence help you play a role in improving both? So, we're getting 63-37% right now on yes to no with that. So, we've covered working on what we wanted to say to get our donors' interest. And then we worked on how you want to communicate and deliver that information to them. And now you need to drive home that story that you feel will get them over the finish line as philanthropic ROI. So how do you use these two other facets to scale up your messaging, to allow your brand to grow, to your vision and your strategic plan to be realized, utilizing the resources that you have around there? And so you may not know how many touch points are going to go out or have a specific structure or cadence or a specific group of donors, but the more that you can utilize, whether it's Cadence or other technology platforms, to improve the foundation for your messaging, the better. And so we have an example of that Sharon's going to touch on here momentarily. A couple questions here in the chat as well that we can get to here. Let's let Sharon do her example first, and then we'll get to these questions that are over here in the chat. I don't want to miss anybody.
Cool. I'll keep this really quick. The last point I really wanted to point out is just make sure you have a really good way to see, track, and manage how many touches are going out to certain prospects. I know kind of the general rule of thumb is you never want to send someone more than one text message per quarter. Keep it to about 4 a year, so that you're not obviously over inundating them at any point in time. I have like 100 text messages from unknown numbers from marketing things that I've signed up for to get a 10% discount one time. I'm sure we're all in the same boat there, but that way you're keeping what you are sending them very meaningful. This actually is a really negative example of something that happened to us because we didn't initially have a comprehensive way to see which segments were going out and when and what else they were included with, etc. And this actually I wanted to share because I think it's important as a lesson learned. Know if you're saying too much to a donor or not enough, and try to be, like I said, mindful about what segments you're sending out and when. This particular example was also from our sneaker ball text, I think last year. And basically, so we sent this particular donor a text message, the same one about Dougie Fresh and DJ Cool, and they asked, is this the only communication to Black alumni about this? I misunderstood the question and I said, yeah, we promoted it on social and email, but if you change your mind, you can go to this website to learn more. And they said, my question wasn't about if there's any other communication to Black alumni outside of this. That's what they wanted to know. They said the last time you texted this number was last year about the exact same event. So basically this donor was telling us, hey, you don't communicate with us enough. I don't only want to be invited to the Black alumni chapter sneaker ball every year. Like, where's my homecoming stuff? Where's all these other things? So we apologized to it and said, we're still fleshing it out. This is a fairly new platform that we're using. So sorry. And she asked to be removed from text, which is fine. But we have since forwarded this person to a gift officer that's helped rebuild the relationship. And obviously we apologize profusely to this particular constituent about only including them in those sorts of text messages. It's also important to know sometimes we get people that text us and say, hey, how come I'm only getting text from UNC Charlotte? And then I'll go and look at the exclusions on their record, and they opted out of like an email, not realizing they were opting out of all UNC Charlotte communications. So we also identify people sometimes and update their preferences based on information they relay to us. So I think strategy is really critical, obviously, but you learn. The more you do it, the more you learn. And we're starting to really fine tune this machine and, just make texting a smart part of our strategy, not just like dumping data in and sending it out, not thinking about it as much anymore. I highly recommend having some sort of checks and balances as to who you're texting and when. It'll really help you better connect with your donors.
Awesome. Well, thanks for that, Sharon. That was the end of our topics that we've got to cover this, but there's a lot of questions that I think are really good discussion if everybody's willing to, that would come from the chat. John B is asking if other institutions use the individual text message side of Cadence Mongoose for one-to-one outreach or just the mass text side. Kim, you responded that you all are using the one-to-one feature. If you're open to it, do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more? What are some of the differences and kind of the results that you've noticed from that mass text side versus that individualized one-to-one messaging side for your guys' shop?
Yeah, so I use the one-to-one. When I award a scholarship, I text the recipient to check their student email. On the application for the scholarship, I do have our phone number, and it's one of the application questions. Have you added this number so you know it's not spam, because it's, you're going to get a text from it if you're selected. So I've gotten a lot better response because Gen Z does not check email, and the texting really helps me get them to, push them to answer and look at their emails.
That's great. And we do that to that point. We also do that with know before you go information for alumni events. When we find out when the know before you go email goes out, we'll text all the constituents that have a valid cell phone number and let them know, hey, you're going to get a know before you go, check your email. And that has really helped them have to field less questions manually, or someone calling the alumni center on a Saturday and no one's there to answer their questions, and then them getting mad at us. So that's very helpful as well.
All right. John's got another question on, do you do a similar opt-in process? All alumni are auto opt-in for text. What are you all doing at Charlotte? Sure.
I think I pasted it in the chat earlier about the express consent and all of that. We don't, because the UNC Charlotte Foundation, where I work under development, is technically a nonprofit. We're a 501c3, the UNC Charlotte Foundation. We are only required to receive express consent, which is how we can text without opt-ins. Of course, we obviously manage opt-outs legally. We have to. But someone just putting their name and phone number on a form, like when they apply to come to UNC Charlotte, or when their student updates their information in Banner, or their parents' information in Banner, that is express consent for us. You don't have to have a physical hard copy or a digital copy of their consent to opt in. And we also don't need expressive disclosures of what they're opting into. But if we were a for-profit organization, like a bookstore or the athletics ticket office, etc., they would have to have expressed written consent before their constituents could be texted. So we don't at all collect opt-in information at the moment for our alumni populations. Did that even answer the question?
That's a great question, John, from there. And I want to be mindful of everybody's time too on this lovely Friday afternoon. So, are there any other questions that weren't in the chat? Anything that anybody's been sitting on that you want to ask? Now is your time to shine here. Just like we have sunny summer days coming up here. Any other final questions, thoughts, something that's worked well that you want to share with the group? Let's happy to make that happen right now. But like kind of in closing, we want you all to be empowered with the ability and the tools that allow your donors to have an engaged and customized experience with your institution. By making that donor experience as individualized as you can. You want to make them feel included, engaged, and like you're really thinking of them, but while you're still selfishly moving them through the pipeline over their donor life cycle. How do we get them from receiving an Alumni Association member gift to making a philanthropic one? And so hopefully we're able to learn from each other today. That there's good. Appreciate those of you that shared your thoughts and ideas of what works well, what isn't working. Hopefully the examples that we showed of what that personalization can really bring to the table in your engagement efforts with your donors was huge. How you can use it to deliver your messages and tell your story in a way that your donors receive it and are engaged with it. And then how that tool, you're using technology and that tools like Cadence can help blossom and grow your engagement rate and your message rate with your constituents. So from prospective donors, your alumni, and your current donor base as well. Hopefully shed some light on how we can all work together to make that happen with your engagement efforts. So, our team is here and would love to chat with each one of you if you have any questions. If you are a current client and partner with us, thank you again for your support. And please reach out to any one of us or your client success lead with any questions that you may have. If you are not yet part of the Mongoose family, we'd love to set up a time to learn more about what your team is doing with your engagement efforts, what's working well that we can help continue with, what is not going so well that we can try to help solve and make it better and more efficient. How do we help make it easier for you all to figure out your donors' reason why and push that message into them to get them to be a philanthropic generator for your mission? We want to help you be a catalyst for a yes for your donors. So I want to thank Lauren and Laura and Jeff on our Mongoose team for helping put this on today. All of this is going to be sent out to everybody here. So thank you for all the attendance, and a big thank you to Sharon and all of our clients here at Mongoose for all their dedicated passion and support of our product. I really appreciate it, you being an advocate and champion for us. And thank you so much, everybody, for the questions, participation. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday and a fantastic rest of the weekend.